Hello students, so today we're going to create an app that will be something like Goodreads, where you can add your favorite book to a list, and then you will have an AI element that will help you further figure out if you like the book and more description about the book and stuff like that. And the reason of this tutorial is to teach you two important things. One, more information about API and how to use them, and the other two, how to use the search query in the app itself. So few things we're going to do are these four different pages, we can call them, or sides of the app. The first one will be the home page, where you're going to have a search bar. You can write the name of the book you're looking for. We will have a motivational quote, and this is just like a fun thing to add. It doesn't really add or subtract anything from the app. And then over here, the top 5 books you liked. And then we're going to have a page dedicated to show you the search results. And then we're going to have a page, whenever you click on a book, it's going to take you to this page. It will have an image of the book, a review of the book, like out of 5 stars, I just put 3 stars here, title of the book, more information about the book, and a button to add it to your favorite or remove it from your favorite if it's already added to your favorite. And finally, just one last page where you can see all the books you add to your favorite, and a search bar to basically like navigate through them and see if there is a book you want or you want to delete from there. So these are all the sections we are going to have in our application. So let's start working on it. We're going to first create a new project, and I'm going to just call it Books App. Start building. Skip. So let's go ahead and start with this design. So we're going to start with our home page, which would be this one here. So I need a search bar, a place for a quote, and then a list view to have all my favorite stuff, and finally a nav bar. Alright, so the home page will be, let's call it Fave Books, and of course you can name it whatever you want. You can make it any style you want. I'm just gonna keep it this style for now. I'm gonna try to go through the lesson fast so I don't spend forever on it. So the very first thing at the top is a search bar, so we will need a text field. So a text field allows us to type in information, and as we can see, there is already a column, so we don't have to add a column. So the text field, I'm going to make sure everything is centered by going to the alignment, center everything, make sure it's top, and just for peace of mind, let's add a padding on all direction. I'm going to do a padding of 20. This is just so not everything is cramped together. I'm going to change the name by clicking on the text field. I'm going to call it search. This is just to make my life easier later. And then in the hint here, I'm going to say, let's give me a book name, The Hobbit. If I spelled it correct, I think this is how you spell The Hobbit, I don't know. And then we have the next thing, which is label search. So it's going to say search, and then you will have the book name. And then the next thing we need to have is the quote of the day. So we're going to add just a normal text underneath it. I'm going to add a padding of 10 here, and I'm going to call this Q of the day. Of course, that will be changed later. This is just a placeholder for the moment. And then next thing we need, as you all can see, is our list view with all the books that we're going to have, which we can simply add it by adding a list view. And as well, I'm going to do a padding of 10 in all direction. And then the list of the books will have a few information. One, I would like to have an image of the book, so I'm going to add a row just so we can have multiple things. So I would like to have an image of the book, like some kind of a thumbnail. So I'm going to add an image. Next, and let's make it small, like maybe 50 by 50. Let's see how that would look like. 50 by 50, yeah, that's reasonable. And then I want to have the title of the book, and maybe finally like rating. Let's see if there is a rating. Yep, there is a rating bar. That's perfect. And then a rating of the book. So we have image, the title of the book, and then a rating. And just then we're gonna select this, and I'm gonna space them out like evenly, so whenever we have multiple it will look better. And then in the row itself I'm gonna have a padding of 5. So this is my main page, and maybe if you want to, you can make the font bigger, like 25 maybe. No, 25 is too big. 20. Yeah. And then you can change the font, you can change everything, and of course the page will be filled with the list view. Alright, so that's my first page, and then we're gonna create our next page, which would be our search result page. So the search result page will be very simple, so I'm gonna create a blank. I'm gonna call it S results to refer to search results, and then the title will be search results. And then I'm gonna have a back arrow, so I'm gonna use this actually. And this search result name, instead of just writing search results, we can replace it with the name of the book that we searched for. And then simply we're going to add a list view, and this list view, let's add a padding as well. I'm gonna do a padding of 20. This list view would be similar to this list view. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click on the row and copy it, go here, I will paste the list view inside, allow if you didn't allow, and that will have the book name, an image of the book, and the search bar. So whenever you search for a book, this is what you're gonna see. Alright, and as we said, here is like your top reads or whatever, and we can actually add a label maybe on the home page. I'm gonna do a label, and I will call it top or recent fave, and let's see if I can align it to the left, since we added a padding of what was the padding on this? It was a 5. Let's add a padding of 10 here so they match. 2. Yep, that's good. And if we don't want a padding on the top, we can just do like a left padding of 10, and that would make it look much better. Perfect. So recent fave, and then this would be the favorite, and so on and so forth. Alright, now we're gonna move to our next page, which will be the page that every book will have. So let's do the same thing. New, and we will create a blank, and I will call it book, because this page will have every book we make. So, and then in the title, this one will be the book name. So I'm just going to book name, and up here I'm going to also change it to this one. So the book name will be replaced with the actual book name. And as we can see, it's very simple. We need an image, stars, title, and information, and add and remove. So let's go ahead and do that. So first, again, we have a column already, so I'm going to add an image, and this will be an image of the book. And again, I'm going to center everything, add a padding of 20, so everything is there, and we want it scrollable, but we don't have to activate that now. We can activate it later, actually. So the book, and then the rating, let's write rating. We need to add the rating bar underneath the book, and then we need to add the book title. So I'm going to add a text underneath it, and then I'm going to change the text to title, and then here be book title. And then finally we need to add the bio, so I'm just going to put it down there, and I'm going to say book bio, and just to keep everything organized, we can click on the column, and then spacing, let's add a spacing of 10, so everything is spaced correctly away from one another. That's another way of add padding if you want an even padding. And then finally we need a button to add or remove the book from our favorites, and this button of course will change based on whether the book is there or the book is not there. So I'm going to use an icon button, and it's gonna have, so if you want to add it, I'm going to say add, it will be a plus when you want to add it. Add the book to your list, and then if the book is already added, then it will change from the plus icon to a minus icon. So we're going to use some logic here, or instead of minus, maybe a trash can icon. All right, so maybe let's see if we can add maybe a card, and then put the bio info inside a card just to make it look a little fancy, or maybe a container or something like that. Let's see, should we do a container maybe, and then drag the info there, and then put the container, no, go inside the container, and then container, the whole container up there, maybe, yeah, and then we can round the container. This is just to make it pretty, so you don't have to do this part, but would like to see your app like in a good format. Maybe 10. Is 10 good enough? Yeah, I think 10 is good. And then this container, of course, will expand and like shrink and expand based on the amount of information we have in it. And you can change the background from white to a different background. I'm gonna set the width maybe to the same width as the image, and my image width is 200. So let's do this one for the width as 200 as well. Container minimum width will be, actually let's do the maximum width 200, minimum width 200 pixel. So the width wouldn't change, the height will change as needed. All right, so that's the adding a book section. And finally we need to have the page where it shows us all the books we added that are in our favorite books. So it's gonna be exactly similar to this one. So let's just do this. Let's right click on it, duplicate, and then let's rename it from the renaming on the side, from search result copy, fav books list. And the only difference is we're going to add a search bar. So I'm going to write text field, then I'm going to add it up there, and then this would be my search bar. So I'm going to call it search again up here, and then the hint will be the Hobbit. I think it's like that, and then 2 to 2. Finally, we need to add the label as search. And yeah, let's go to the column. Let's do spacing of 20. No, let's do spacing of 10. And then we need to add a padding to it from all direction of 20. Yeah. All right, that's perfect. So we have the search bar, and then here, instead of showing the rating, I'm going to delete the rating, and then I'm going to add an icon, which will be the trash can icon. So I'm going to click there, I'm going to write trash, and then I'll go to the second one just because they have a nice looking trash can. And this is something you can do. You can change the color to red because it's a delete button. And that would make it look fancier. It's down here at icon. So the book name, title, and the image of the book, and then a trash can to delete it. And you can even do the text to be aligned to closer to the side. Like, you can organize it to however you want. All right, so now we have all of our 4-page mates. The only last thing we need is to add the nav bar. So let's do that. And to add the nav bar, click down here, and then always show the nav bar, show it on this page. It will give you this error because it requires 2 pages at least to have the nav bar so you can navigate. So we're gonna do it at the home page. So now we have, this is the icon for the home page. We're gonna go to the favorite books, and let's change the icon to list. Let's see if we can see something that refers to things that we have. Maybe one of these icons. So if it kept disappearing like I'm having right here, what you might need to go is go to nav setting and then turn this off and turn it back on. I don't understand why this happened, but sometimes this website glitch. The last one we need, actually we only need it for those 2 places, the home and the favorite. because the search results is just going to show the search results, and then in here it's just gonna have the search bar. Yeah, so we might even want to add a search bar in the search result page. Yeah, why don't we just do that? Let's add a search bar here. I'm gonna write a text field. I'm gonna add one. This is the search page, and I'm also gonna give it a padding again of 10 here, so it doesn't touch the top like that. A padding of 20 for my column, which I totally forgot to do. Initial value, we don't need label text, search, and then finally the hint, the Hobbit. And I'm sure I'm spelling the Hobbit wrong, and we will find that out later whenever I double check the spelling. And this will just, just since you're in the search result page, it will show more things. All right, so when you work with something like this, you kind of need to work backward. When you want to start, so we can't really work, whenever we're going to start the coding, we can't really code the front page before we code the page that is responsible for our favorite stuff, because this page depends on this page and depends on a couple other things. So we need to start coding from our favorite, moving on. All right, so to do that, let's talk about API, because we don't have the knowledge of all the books and we don't want to manually add the books. So that's the part where you need to use something called an API. And for our luck, just happened that this library, the Internet Archive, I'm sure some of y'all are familiar with. If not, it's an amazing resource where a lot of things that have been lost through time, they are basically saved here. And they have a great API library, and this is like if you want to test their API. API is basically a method for you to get information, or what we call it, fetch information from a website, and then you can use them on your website. So this website, or the Internet Archive, already gathered thousands and thousands of data about thousands, or if not millions, of books. And they will provide us with book names, book ratings, pictures of the book. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna connect to their website and be like, hey, I need this information about this book, can you give it to me? And then the way they will give you the information is in a JSON file. So it's gonna be something like this. For example, this is, I'm looking for The Lord of the Rings, that's my search. And it will give me an author name, author key, first published year, edition counts, cover, I don't know even what that means. So it will give you a lot of information, like what languages is this book translated to. You might not need every single information that they provide, but you would need some of those information. Like we would need the title of the book. We would need this lending edition. This will come important later. You might need, it's not the same thing, cover, edition, key, the author name, you would need that for sure, which that actually reminded me, we probably need to add the author name in our other page. So yeah, all of these information. And this one, for example, it has thousands of information, and this is just, we're looking for one single book, and there is so many different results. So that being said, let's move forward there. They found 800 results. So start from 0 to 800, which means it's a lot of results. So let's use this API to get the book information. But actually, before we do this, let's do a simpler API. Remember, I told y'all we're gonna have motivational speak in the home page. Let's actually program this motivational speak. Let's start with that because it's very simple. And again, it is also nothing different. It is an API. So I'm going to pull this API here. It's called the Zen Quotes. So it's zenquotes.io, and it's one of those API that doesn't require any authentication. You just need to like copy and paste basically. So yeah, this is their documentation. If I clicked on documentation, it's going to take me here, and it's very simple. This is the link, and you say the mode, which one you want. So you can do a random quote, so every time you refresh the page you're going to see a random quote, or the quotes of the day or bunch of quotes. So we're gonna do a random first just to test it to make sure it actually works, and then we're gonna do one quote a day, or you can use the random, like it's totally up to you. And we don't need any option, we don't need anything. And then this is like how the respond look like. The Q respond is the quote, A is the author, and then there is a link to it, a picture. I think this might be a picture of the author, an image of the author if you wanted to even make it fancier. And then finally C is how many characters. This one if you wanted it in an HTML format, which we don't need for our purpose. This is like if you're designing a website. So let's start with this very simple API. So we've done something similar to this before. I'm just gonna move this out of the way for now. If you go to your API page, and we're gonna add an API call. So I'm gonna create a new call, and I will call this, let's make sure we spell quote correctly. So I'm just gonna copy the name Zen Quotes. So I'm gonna call this API Zen Quotes, and the link is going to be the website link. So I'm gonna go up here where it says the API. So I'm just gonna copy this one and put it there, and then /, and since this API is going to be static, like we don't want to change it in the future, we always want it to give us a random quote, let's say, I'm going to actually hard code it here. So what I'm going to do is simply, like this is like the example. So you want to do zen.io API equal, and then the mode, and the mode will be random. So we have zen /API. Actually, let me just copy exactly how they have it written down here. So I'm just gonna copy this one, and then equal the mode, we're gonna say random. And the modes are preset, so you don't pick and choose. And then I'm gonna add the API call, and then let's test it. So if I run the test, it will give me a quote. No need to hurry, no need to sparkle, no need no need to be anybody but self. If I run it again, you can see the quote changed, and it will tell me the person name. So just to make it our life easier to find those information, let's add a predefined path. So we want the quote and we want the author. So I'm just adding them here, just like to show again. I scroll down in the JSON path, and I'm adding those two paths, and then I'm gonna save it. Oh, we need to name them. This, I'm just gonna name this Q and this A. Q for quotes, A for author, and save. I'd need at least 2 characters. Yep. Let's write quote then. This one will be author. Save. So this will just be whenever we want to call them, just like how we did for ChatGPT the other time. Alright, so that's our Zen quote. Let's go back to our website, and now we're gonna select the test. We're gonna go to here, and I'm going to select an action, or let's see, do we need an action? What happens if I look for API? We don't have an API, so we might need an action in this case. So yeah, we would need to, I'm just going to select the text, and I will add a query API call, and then I will select my API, confirm, and then I will go back to my quotes. I will select my API. I will select my, well, actually, before we do that, let's take a step back. Since we are going to put the quote and the author name, I would like to add a row. I'll put my quote in the row, and then I will add another text which would be the author name, and the author name would be smaller than the quote. So I'm going to select my row, I will center everything, and I will make everything at the bottom. Now you see how nice it is. This one is at the bottom and this one is like that. So you know, it looks more like an author, or not an author, what do you call it, like a quote and then by blah blah blah. So, and now I'm going to select my whole row. I will go to the query, add query API call, then confirm. Now in the text, I would go here, pick it, predefined path, the quotes will be the big one. The default value will be eat your breakfast. And then this one, we're also gonna select this zone. This time we're gonna select the author name. And then since this is my quote, I'm gonna put my name there. So if there is no quote available, it's just gonna say eat your breakfast and then my name. Or you can pick any quote, honestly. And then let's test it and see what we would see here. I'm going to pause the video and come back whenever the 2 to 3 minute finish.